That's a new record. As long as he lives, he'll remember this evening.
Comes back out. Gilmore gets it, and there's where Gretzky's stick came up and hit Gilmore. Thomas gave it to Sundin. They go up the net. Sundin. Leads back quickly. Nylander moving in. What's it across the front? He scores! Matthews!
John Tavares is a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Marner with a little toe drag move. Drop pass. Scores! Johnny Toronto!
Matthews, here it is! There's a new member of the 60-goal club.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Six Man Podcast. This is episode 3, and boy, oh boy, do we got some stuff for you today. Crazy couple days here in Leafland. And John, how are you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm fantastic. Fired up, boys. This is what we've been wanting, isn't it? This is what we've been wanting.
Pretty much. I have to agree with you there. And Johnny Mac, how are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Just staying warm out in the East Coast, a little colder than we're used to. But yeah, it's. I mean, you know, if the big stud forwards of the top four or the big four, whatever you want to call them, don't take this as hey, we better be the best players in the world like we are all year. If the front office is doing this, so yeah, I'm excited. You know, there's a lot of work to do. You got to get the guys in the right holes and playing with the right guys, but you know, they got lots of time here, so I think it's going to be great.
Absolutely. And obviously after the Ryan O'Reilly trade, which we covered last week, there's been a few more guys in and out, mostly expected to some extent in terms of the guys going out. But I mean, Rasmus Sandin, a lot of people aren't happy that he was moved out, but did get a first round pick back for him, which I mean, it is what it is, but John,
like I'm looking at Sandin, and listen, Sandin he's got the potential to be a fine hockey player. First round pick from years ago. It took a little longer to develop than maybe everybody wanted him to. But here's the reality. You have him and you've got Liljegren. And anybody that's listened to me for any length of time knows I'm a big Liljegren fan. And Liljegren has simply just passed him on the depth chart. And as we keep going here, he's still a tradable asset. He is somebody that is going to bring you a significant return. We got a first round pick back for him. And you know what? I like Gustafsson coming back too. I think Gustafsson and Sandin are essentially the same player right now. I'm not saying that Sandin doesn't have more upside in the end, but right now, both left shot point guys, they're not going to win you a Norris Trophy on the end. They're going to be able to kick in offensively and do some nice things. But I think Gustafsson plays a little heavier, which again I think is where we're trying to get to as a team. Yeah, I'm not. I liked Sandin and I wish him well. I think he'll probably play with Carlson on the top unit. There would be my guess. At least he'll see power play time with those boys in Washington, and he'll do okay. And good for him.
And yeah, I agree with you, Johnny Mac. What were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, it's quite interesting. You know, I know we're going to talk about the Luke Schenn trade later, but the way that you know, Luke and Rasmus were both first round picks, came in with a real high pedigree, and the Leaf front office back when Luke came in really mishandled him. We talked about this on another show. They put him in the NHL at 18 and, you know, put him in matchups that really, I think were hard on the kid. You know, obviously being in the Toronto market makes it tough as well. He was a Saskatchewan kid, you know, first round pick starting at 18, lots of comparisons, although they played a different position to Wendell. So yeah, a lot of pressure. And I think the Maple Leafs really did the kid an injustice. And then if you look on the other side of the coin, the way they've handled Sandin and Liljegren for that matter, they've let them mature in the minors. They've put them into position to succeed. They put them in positions in the NHL to succeed. They're playing them with veteran players, and they're bringing these guys in at the tail end of their career, and maybe we haven't won with them. But guys like Spezza in the room and Joe Thornton in the room and Patty Marleau in the room have made all these guys better pros, right? So Washington's getting a hell of a defenseman. You have to do it. I disagree with you on Gustafsson. I don't think Gustafsson sees a minute on this hockey club in the playoffs unless there's several injuries. I got him about 9 or maybe 10 on what's available right now. There could be a couple of guys going out, but yeah, I mean, I think he bring a body back. I don't think that the deal had anything to do with Gustafsson. In my opinion, I think it was getting the first rounder back.
Are you playing Justin Hall over Gustafsson?
What's that? Yeah, absolutely.
No question.
Well, the system. It's a system. He's been playing here. I saw.
He's been a body here. I mean, if we're being fair, I don't know how much he's been playing.
He's also a better player than Gustafsson is.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's.
We'll respectfully agree to disagree on that one.
But I've got and I don't necessarily have Hall in my top 6 either, right? We're going to be looking at some crazy options, and we'll get into that later as we break it down. But I think fantastic move, love it, and I can't wait to talk about the next one.
Yeah, so bringing up the next one, Luke Schenn. I think that's where we're going with this right now.
Johnny, I feel like we should cede to you on this one. You've been calling this one for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I mean,
great fit.
He's kind of exactly what the doctor ordered for this team. I kind of love it because, as Johnny Mac says, the organization did do him a little bit of an injustice, probably bringing him up too early. But you know what? Luke Schenn doesn't think it's an injustice if he comes back to Toronto and wins a cup.
Yeah, but you know what? And it's interesting that you mentioned that, Clem. So, there was part of me that kind of thought about this. And Luke Schenn's at the stage of his career and has a tremendous amount of respect from every team and player and executive in the league for the career that he's had. So he was dictating where he was going to go. They weren't just going to trade him to get an asset. I'm quite positive Luke's going to sign back in Vancouver after this run with the Leafs. I mean, he's a Saskatoon guy. He's got a summer home in Kelowna. That's kind of where he wants to be. And I think he's earned that. So for Luke to agree, right, let's just, call a spade. There's no way they traded him to the Toronto Maple Leafs without getting him and his agents full consent. So for Luke to want to come back, hey, he sees what he's coming into. And don't forget, this guy just won 2 in a row with Tampa prior to the one last year. So he knows what it takes to win. So he's going to come back here into a town that really, was hard on him, ran him out of town. 5th overall pick, can't play, the minutes, getting beat, flat-footed, blah, blah. And for him to come back, that sends a big message, man, to guys like Marner and Matthews. Marner would have been a kid in playing in the MTHL in Toronto for the
he would have been
Marlies,
watching Luke
and he's
Schenn
been watching Luke Schenn, right? So this is kind of, this could be real special for a guy like Luke Schenn. And it couldn't happen to a nicer kid and a nicer family. I'm excited for him. So for a 3rd rounder, I would have given more than that for him. Yeah, maybe I would have given 2 third rounders or a second. I think he's going to mean that much to this group. Even, we talked about it, John. We debated him or McCabe, and you wanted McCabe, and I conceded that McCabe.
Johnny, we both win.
McCabe's a better player. I said, but for what we can get Schenn for, I think he's the guy. And then the guy comes out and gets both of them. It's like, wow. I just think it sends a tremendous. And I said it last week. I predicted that he's going to get extended. I think he needs to be extended now. I think another message to send to these guys before they go on a run. Let's lock this guy up for 3 to 5 years, and let's go. Right? He's already won the trade deadline. TSN and Sportsnet are gonna be in trouble on Friday. He's won the trade deadline. Doesn't matter what they do. They could bow out in the first round, John. He's put his team in a much better position to succeed than any of the other 31 clubs. Period.
Listen,
I don't care who you are. Rangers, I don't care.
I'm not disagreeing, but I just want to pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to pump the brakes.
Yeah.
Simply because, and you guys know I've been saying this all year long, and I have taken so much heat from an innumerable amount of people for saying this team is not built to win in the playoffs. I've said it since Montreal. I said it last year, and I've said it all year this year. And all I've been told by everybody is we're a top 5 team. We're great. We know what we're doing. Let them go. All I'm saying is what this past 2 weeks shows you is that Kyle Dubas has finally realized I was right. We're not ready with the team that we had right now to win. Bottom line, his actions over the past 2 weeks simply say he recognizes what we have is good, but not good enough. And I'm not going to remove or absolve him from the fact that he's built this team up until now in that fashion. So yes, am I applauding everything that he's done? Yes. Do I love it? Absolutely. Do I agree with just about every move he's made in the last 2 weeks? 100%, 1,000% I do.
Yeah.
However, I want to pump the brakes and I want to see some results before I can get into a conversation about what we're doing on a go forward basis. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And I'm gonna kind of give my 2 cents on that. And a lot of times, and you hear it. You see the memes on social media about 1967 and the Leafs haven't won, right? And then this team sucked since the Dougie Gilmour days or the Matt Sundin days, and you hear they weren't as good as they were in the 70s. It's a different team every year. Okay, we can say this Leaf team. Yeah, you know what? There's about 12 of them left from 13 of them left from last year now. Right? It's not the same.
Well,
team,
now,
right?
yeah, now.
No, but my point is what Kyle Dubas did today. He did things like this the last 4 or 5 years. We forget he did what he thought at that time. Bringing in some of these veterans. He made some moves. And he wasn't going to go. I'm going to bring in this guy and that guy and make these moves because I hope maybe we can get to game 7 and maybe win a first round series. No, he's a general manager in the NHL. He thought, and he might've been right. We watched those series. We talked about them in depth the last couple of weeks. They get a bounce. They're into round 2. And then you get a Matthews. That team could have won a cup the last 3 years. I maintain it, right? It's a different world now. So last year you didn't see the arms race that was happening. Tampa was good, Boston was good, but Florida was the one everybody was talking about because they had so many points, right? Everybody's Florida,
Carolina was
Florida.
A sleeper. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So Boston wasn't, running around, hiring players at the deadline like they are now. And there was a little bit of moving some guys at the end of their deal over. But nothing like this year. I mean, I don't even know why Edmonton made a trade today there for a big defenseman at Colm. I don't even know why they bothered, right? Like, I don't care who you are coming out of the West. The only thing that the West is going to have going for them this year is that
whoever comes out of the East is going to be.
They're going to get the shit beat out of them. Yeah, you're going to go in.
Well,
but look at the depth.
If you are Edmonton, though,
yeah.
Here's the thought. Brent, hold on. Are we going to go to the trade desk? Do we have a breaking trade, Brent, to announce? Are we going to break trades live?
I mean, I wouldn't call it breaking it. I'm hearing it from someone else, but Gustav Nyquist to Columbus. There's no information on what's going back and forth there, but That's another guy that's off the block now.
But so going back to Edmonton, though, if you were Edmonton right now and you look at that West is wide open.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Wide open.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like with the type of team that they have, I mean, the interesting thing is, I don't know if you guys caught the game the other night. They got beat 6-5, I think. And, Campbell, it was 5-0 at one point. Campbell looked terrible. And you just kind of had to feel like Edmonton's got to do something between the pipes, right? Like, do they not?
What
if
do
you
they
were
do?
Edmonton, right? I don't know.
Because they have two decent goalies. Yeah. You have Campbell and Skinner, but you're not going out and getting an upgrade on those guys. Like, we talk about the Leafs going out and getting a veteran goalie. You can do that. But for Edmonton, it's not really health that they're worried about. They're not worried about having a guy that can slot in and when he has to perform. They'd have to find someone that is a legitimate starter, and you can't find that in the market.
Goaltending is their least concern, in my opinion. I think they addressed the big hole with bringing in Ekholm, but they still need probably 2 or 3. They could upgrade their 4, 5, 6 D hole with Toronto's 8, 9, 10. Right? That's how deep of a difference in NHL quality defensemen in those two clubs. So they can score 6 goals a game, but they're going to let in 7. They need to make more moves than bringing in Ekholm. And goalies just go there to die, right? Because the team doesn't really care about.
And remember they got Ekholm, but they had to give away Barry.
Yeah,
too.
Well,
so are you almost at a wash?
Yeah, well,
I wouldn't call it a wash.
No.
But...
I mean, Ekholm's a real good player, and he's got term, I think.
Defensively, he is. I agree. He's a step up defensively. Offensively,
but the thing is, they don't need more offensive defensemen. I think if anyone who has offensive upside, if you can trade them for a stay-at-home defenseman who's
that's a fair point.
Very
they still
good
got Bouchard there, and
But
you know who I like in the West is I like LA a lot. I just watched a few of their games lately, and I really like the way they play. They're disciplined. He rolls 4. They hit hard. There's no real, big, you got Doughty's and Anze's still there, but these other guys, man, they get a bunch of kids that work hard. They remind me of the two cup teams, that kind of went around, Dustin Brown and that group. They really did, so they're buzz and hit hard, and I like them. So wide open though. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody could scale through, relatively healthy, and then upset somebody in the.
If I can jump in here, is anybody upset that Pierre Engvall's gone?
Yeah, I mean, I like the player.
He was a good young guy. I mean, I don't think he was going to be anything special, but in a depth role, I liked him. And I mean, I'm not worried about losing him. I don't think he's a make or break player. I liked having him on the team, though, and I don't think there was anything negative I could say other than he should have used his frame a little bit.
Other than the fact that he was 6'5" and didn't hit anybody.
Well,
exactly.
and but you know what? I saw it a couple times, and it was this year. I saw him get mad, and he was kind of a scary big man, right? And he manhandled somebody in a little scrum in front of the net, and it got me thinking. I go, is this guy a power forward in the NHL? If he realized what he can do with his size, if he went in there and just hammered guys and got in scrums and finished his checks and was hard to knock down in front of the net, he could be a 30-40 goal guy if he's playing with the right guys. He's got a good shot. He's got a great sense shot for the net.
He's shown his shot a few times, right?
And he's good on his edges too. He's a good skater.
Put him with Matthews and Marner for a season if he's going to play that physical role like Bunce does, and boom, right?
He could go into the corners with 12 eggs and come out and they'd be perfect.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's the guy he is. So for me,
I'm good.
I have said, I have zero problem with him not being in the lineup, because to me, he was a guy who took up space. He didn't add anything. He didn't kill you. Don't get me wrong, but he was just a guy that took up space. And if we're going for a cup, we don't have room for passengers. Yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, who's he going to bump out of a a role now? He's now on the fourth line easily, and he's fighting with.
I don't even think he's playing on the fourth line.
Yeah,
I'd
exactly.
rather have Aston Reese in. The kid that we got from Blackhawks in the McCabe trade. Lafferty. And Akari will play in the middle.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's a million guys you can play in on that fourth line.
We could jump in and out. Johnny
Mac brings up a good point almost every episode, where he brings up, not only do these trades make the team better overall from your top 12 guys, but it creates that competition in practice, which is going to be a major thing going forward, because you might not
assuming the coach utilizes the players properly. We're putting a lot of faith in the coach. I know
regardless though.
I know you guys have it.
It's going to push the players to play harder.
You hope so.
It has to.
Yeah, you hope so.
Because you're competing for minutes.
Just keep in mind, we did see after that trade that went through that I love, we did see them lay an egg in Chicago, an effort egg, right? So I just I hear that. I keep hearing that we're going to keep laying these eggs
back to back. They got a big rush with O'Reilly coming in.
How did Minnesota do in their back to back when they played us? Minnesota looked great in their back to back against us.
Yeah. You know, they're going to lay eggs, and I'm okay with them. We talked about that last week. Patrick Kane was Patrick Kane. He's been doing it for 15, 17 years in the NHL, right? So that happened. But then where'd they go? Where'd they go from there? Buffalo, right?
Look great. Look the way they should look. The way they should look.
I didn't like the game. I didn't like the wide openness a little bit, but I really liked the Minnesota game a lot. You know, it was a playoff style hockey game. There was guys, you know, doing the little things. I saw some back check and some effort in the neutral zone that I hadn't seen for a while. And I honestly attribute that to O'Reilly and his behavior and his demeanor and him coming in, right? He's a type of guy that comes in and makes everybody that may not always play the right way, play the right way. Because if you talk about Ryan O'Reilly and his leadership, and you know, you talk to players that have played with him and coaches that have coached him, they're going to tell you the same thing. He's a captain's captain. He's one of the boys. He's not one of these new age captains that's a little weird and, you know, whatever, some of the stuff that they do, and they're not leading by example, or they're vocal or they're not vocal. He's an old school Mark Messier's type leader. If somebody needs to be straightened out, Ryan O'Reilly's going to make sure that guy's straited out, whether he has a C on a sweater or not. Yeah,
I think
he's coming in. Absolutely. Well, no, you know what? Spezza, you know, not to that level, but Spezza was a leader. Joe Thornton was a leader. Patrick Marleau. We had a lot of that. Simmons. You know, there's a lot of guys that have been around, but not to the stature.
But they never won.
Yeah. Well,
in fairness, though, the guys that we've had have been that guy before,
right?
They were past their prime,
right?
And
he's coming in at a spot.
It makes it. You have to look at it like this. Like, yes, they're the great leader, but at the same time, a lot of the guys are probably thinking, well, yeah, they were great leaders, but they're not anymore. It's just not where they are in their career,
and they never won.
I'm going to tell you what this group now reminds me of. Okay, and you know, we can debate it if you want, but it really reminds me of the Scotty Bowman Red Wings and the makeup when they had the 5 Russians and Shanny and, you know, Yzerman in his prime and stuff. This group. So if you think about that group, right, you had your core guys, you had 4 or 5, you know, like Toronto's had for several years, and they kind of grew up together. And then they started bringing in, and they brought in some guys at the end of their career, but they also brought in a lot of guys that, you know, bringing in Shanahan when he was 30 or whatever he was, bringing in, you know, the Brett Hulls and the Mike Modanos and whatnot, like Toronto's been doing.
Yep.
Right. You bringing in these guys, you know, and like I said, I can promise you, you know, if the Leafs get there, you know, whether it's this year, next year, or the year after, when you hear the guys interviewed after the game, right, and they always talk about, you know, hey, you know, what does this mean to you, and who do you think of? Guys like Patrick Marleau and Joe Thornton and Wayne Simmons are going to be the ones that these guys talk about, right? They're going to be like, man, I didn't know how to be a pro until this guy came into the room and sat beside me and kind of, we drove to the rink together a couple times, and he told me that, I got to do this better, or I don't work hard enough, or whatever it is. And there's been a lot of that around, man. I'm telling you, this group is the best Leaf. I texted Brent earlier, and I said, this is the best Leaf teams I've seen, and I'm almost 54. So, I'm going back, and I love the Lanny McDonald and Darryl Sittler and Tiger Williams days. Loved them in the 70s. And then obviously the 80s were tough, but then you get into the Doug Gilmour. That was a real good team in 93. And then some of the Pat Quinn teams that came through. This is the best Leaf team I've seen by far. Absolutely far.
So this is an interesting one. Are we looking at a second round exit now? And
the optimism.
I personally would say in any other division, I will guarantee us at least a round. But when you're playing Tampa, you're playing Boston, you don't know. You can't guarantee. And as much as John's going to hate this team can be the best team in the league, the best built team in the league, and not win a playoff round. It's
okay, boys.
A 7-game grueling series, and you're going up against maybe the second best team. Like what you can't expect.
I'm going to go on record here, okay? And this is something I never say. I never do it. I'm telling you, we have enough right now to beat Tampa.
I'm looking at you and I'm telling you we have had enough to beat Tampa.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's disagree on that one.
I'm going to settle this for you
right now.
I'm going to settle this for you. So listen to this, okay? Look, think about the last 3 exits, right? So that would be Montreal, Tampa, and Columbus, right?
If you want to count Columbus, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the play in, whatever. So let's just talk about the 2, right? Tampa last year. What did we lack?
No, let's talk about Columbus.
What beat
5
Tampa?
games doesn't count.
What beat Tampa last year? What did Tampa do to beat Toronto last year?
Toronto didn't show up in 40% of the series.
Why? I think their defense were getting the shit beat out of them, and I think the Tampa forecheck and their bottom 6 beat the shit out of the defense. I think they got tentative. There was a lot of turnovers on the games of that, but they played well for the most part,
and they got out experience.
So right. So what look at the defense today compared to last year, right? And then you talk about things like JT going down against Montreal, right? There's guys right now. You've got it. He's got so many weapons at his disposal, and he's got a month and a half to figure out where they all go, man. But yeah, could they lose in the first round? Absolutely. But he's filling the gaps of the problems that he's seen, and that comes with experience, right? He's seen the exits. He's broke it down. They've looked at video, what, and now they can go in and say, okay, I'm going to make sure I got 10 NHL defensemen, because if 3 go down, we're okay. And they are.
So John,
right? Yeah.
Great. Somebody just commented online and said, if you guys got Kane, we still would have been a first round exit problem. The problem was grit and a goalie. Ryan O'Reilly's a good start. Shen brings her home. And you're taking the Bolts and the Canes, but no, you're talking the Bolts and the Canes, but no one else.
Good.
So,
perfect. I'll take the Bolts and the Canes, because that'll get us into the.
So listen, I look at what he's saying, and I want to tell him that he's wrong, but I feel like he's not wrong. We've had goalies historically in the Sheldon Keefe era who will make tremendous saves, but then give up a backbreaking goal at the absolute worst time in the hockey game. Right? One. And how many times have we seen a Leaf team with no grit, with no fire, with no passion, getting outplayed, out-hustled, won't go into the corner late, won't take a hit to make a play? So I agree with his points. I agree with his points, but I also think what he's failing to realize is, with what we've done in the last 2 weeks, I think we're a different team. And I think this team as constituted is I really think we're a different team. And I think that you're going to find that in years past where we've said, geez, I really don't want to play Tampa. I have a feeling right now, if you took a poll in Tampa right now, that you'd have a lot of people going, geez, I really don't want to play the Leafs right now.
Nobody wants – there's 3 teams in the league that nobody wants to see in the playoffs right now. And it's Toronto, Tampa, and Boston. And they all have to go through each other.
Yeah.
Which –
So if we go up against the Bruins or Devils, if we go up to if Toronto goes against the Bruins or the Devils, they're fucked. They're out for blood, so buckle up. Best playoff hockey we've seen. Yeah, it's going to be real good.
It's going to be great. It's going to be a great first round, boys.
Yeah. But I you know what I see with the Devils, honestly? I see
2 years ago.
early 80s Edmonton, right? Young and fast and exciting, and they're going to be just like so eager to get in there. And then they're going to come up against a wily old veteran team, and they're going to get the shit pounded out of them. They're not going to realize that what's called all year isn't called anymore, and somebody's punching you in the face after every whistle, and there's no power plays. So
I think they run into a lot of the problems that the Leafs have run into.
Yeah, I agree.
I honestly, I look at New Jersey, and I think they're us 2 years ago. They're a loaded young team with no experience, and they've got a bunch of guys who are really good.
Doesn't mean they can't.
When the screws get tightened, it's a different hockey game.
I don't even think they're at the level of Toronto that Toronto was 2 years ago. I don't think that team brings Tampa to 7 last year. I don't think that team brings really anyone.
You don't think that team beats Montreal? For being honest,
Montreal went to the Stanley Cup final. No,
accidentally. Come on, we all know.
Accidentally, they had the best goaltender in the world for a month.
Exactly.
But that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. If Montreal beats Toronto, I think it was the Jets and Vegas. Those 3 series, those were all good teams. Those were all really good teams that they beat.
The Jets weren't really that good. Let's be honest.
They swept Edmonton.
They beat out Edmonton easily.
But everybody's been beating Edmonton.
Two of the best 3-4 players in the world, and they beat them, swept them.
Coming out of the West
so is
right
everybody
now,
else,
that team is very.
That's not an accomplishment.
That Jets team is very similar to what it was in that time, and I'm scared of them now.
I think they're too.
Yeah, I think they're probably the best team in the West.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Top to bottom, they're the best team in the West.
Rick Bowness, good Nova Scotian. Yeah,
good coach.
Great goaltender.
From here. Yeah.
You have a good, strong forward core. They remind me of Boston more than anyone else in the league.
Yeah. They're heavy.
I don't see a Western Conference team. Edmonton would have to score 9 goals to beat them a game. And that's not happening.
Yeah, do you not feel like with Hellebuck, though? Do you not feel with Hellebuck? He's one of 2 guys. He's either ridiculous and you can't get a goal by him, or you look at him and you go, you really shouldn't be giving up those 3 or 4 goals a game. That's what I look at when I see him.
I think you're watching.
I don't know. That's what I look at when I see him.
Yeah. No, I think you're watching.
Go look at his stats for his playoffs and career.
You guys with the stats all the time.
He might have he might throw a stinker 1 out of 8, and most guys do. But even when they lose, he's good. If there's an Olympics next year, a best on best, he's guaranteed on Canada.
Yeah,
guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Or is he American? He might be American. Hellebuck, I think he might be American.
I think he is actually.
Yeah, but then he's playing for the States.
He's starting somewhere.
Yeah.
He is from.
Yeah, he's American.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. So he's starting for the U.S. Right? He's not good, and that's that. Other than we were talking about goaltending, and other than if you think about other than Vasilevsky, right? When was the last time a team won the Stanley Cup with a real good goalie? A long time, right?
Yeah. Colorado subpar goaltending.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pittsburgh. I mean, Matt Murray came in and played for Fleury. Who else won?
Well,
Bennington stood on his head.
Stood on his head.
Yeah,
right?
but
Bennington isn't like a traditionally good goalie though. He just
he got a rookie, right?
He got hot.
Yeah, Berube's system was so shut down and tight. It was almost like a mid-90s Jersey trap, right? They just
John, we could have put you in there.
Yeah,
and they probably would have had a chance.
Yeah. Well, he's available. I heard he was out there today, and somebody on one of the sites I was looking at, maybe the Leafs should go with him. And I was like, absolutely not. He's a nut bar.
No. Yeah.
Right?
And he's not good for a locker room. He's not good for any of that. Maybe we
he's
already have
out
one
there
goalie.
Right now.
We already have one goalie that's had playoff success and has that ability to get hot, and that's Matt Murray.
We don't need to take a flyer. And he's not an idiot.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah. Biddington. Listen, the kid's he's got some game, but he's the antics.
People hate him.
He's going a little too Sean Avery with it. Like he's got to dial it back a little bit, right?
But the thing is, he's not going Sean Avery. He's trying to go Sean Avery, which is his problem because Sean Avery was very good at that, and everybody
don't ever go a full Sean Avery. Nobody wants a full.
Everybody thinks Jordan Binnington's an idiot because it's obvious that he's just trying. He's looking for it. Sean Avery just knew how to get under your skin. Jordan Binnington's trying to get under your skin.
Do we have faith? Do we have faith in Matt Murray? What's your guys' opinion on Matt Murray?
I like him a lot.
I think you ride the hot hand.
So let me ask you this though. What have you seen from Matt Murray since he's left Pittsburgh that leads you to believe you have a healthy Matt Murray at any point in time?
Nothing. He's not. He's got to prove that he's healthy. Period.
So right? Then I go back to my original point
he's not your number one right now. Anyway, if he comes back 100% healthy, you're riding Samson off until he starts
until the wheels fall off. Right.
Yes, and then you go, and then you got two. Right. I'm not worried. I'm not really that worried about goaltending. I don't see. I don't see the issue. I think it's going to be fine. I don't think goaltending is going to win them the cup. It's going to be team defense. It's going to be, your top four scoring at the pace that they do in the regular season. That's all I'd ask for. The scoring comes down. If they can if Marner gets, his 1.2 points a game or whatever his crazy numbers are, and Matthews scores, 2 out of 3 games, you're going to win more than often, right?
It was funny. I was thinking about this earlier when you were talking about Detroit and Scotty Bowman and kind of the parallels between the teams. I read an interesting article that said when Scotty Bowman first arrived in Detroit, Steve Yzerman had just come off his 7th straight 100-point season and never hit the plateau again. But it was the start of Steve Yzerman becoming a complete hockey player.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, I read that and I was just thinking about it. I kind of thought, I wonder if there's a little bit of a parallel there with the way Austin Matthews has developed this year. And has Austin Matthews realized, because I think it's fair to say production is down, but overall 200-foot game, night and day, right? Night and day, different player.
So John, let me stop you right there. So you're comparing Sheldon Keefe to Scotty Bowman. Is that what you're doing?
No. Listen, I'm not giving.
That's kind of what you're doing, man.
No. I'm saying,
you just said that
you just gave.
I'm giving Austin Matthews. I'm giving Austin Matthews the development.
I'm just grinding your gears, man.
You know. I'm not giving Sheldon Keefe any credit. I know it's too easy. It was too easy.
So I'll tell you Scotty Bowman's story. I was, and this was the summer that he left Pittsburgh to go to Detroit, and I was still playing. I was in Europe, and I got asked to work a hockey school. It used to be a pretty cool thing to go to, when I was a kid, and it was the St. Andrews, New Brunswick hockey school. So it's not far from St. John, maybe an hour from St. John, Brent. And there's a resort called the Algonquin, beautiful seaside, kind of old Scottish charm, and a top end golf course, right? So what they did was back in, I think, the 70s, they built a rink and they built dormitories along the rink. So this particular year, what they would do is they bring in University of New Brunswick, men's hockey program ran the program. And so they had this hockey school where kids went all summer. So you'd go, a week at a time, and they literally lived in the rink. So there was dorms, and then the university players stayed with them. And then they hired, guys like me, that were playing pro, some famous guys, and then some hacks like me. But anyway, I got teamed up the week I was there with Scotty Bowman. So we were the two head ice pros, and he's like, I'm going to Detroit. And I said, it gets announced. Scotty Bowman's going to Detroit as the next head coach. And then he never came on the ice. He came on the ice for about 15 minutes a session. I'd be out there for 3 hours doing all the work. And Scott would come out for 15, and he'd go, hey, I got to go. And he was trying to get Barry Smith out of Pittsburgh to Detroit with him, who's Barry Smith's long time assistant coach. And it was with him the whole time in Detroit. So, and then, one of the days we went golfing on the golf course, and we're playing, and it was Scotty and myself and his son Stan, who he told me the story, named him after the Habs won the cup in, I think, 76 or 77, right? So this was back 92, 93. So we played golf with 16-year-old Stanley Bowman, right? So kind of do full circle, and then Stan goes through and takes over the Hawks, and Scotty was always around, but real gentleman, loved to talk hockey, would talk to anybody. And of course he was Scott Bowman in a small town New Brunswick, and people are walking up going, oh my God, that's good. Can I, it wasn't like it is now and you'd have to take pictures, but they'd want an autograph or that kind of thing. But yeah,
was that
good
76 guy. Cup win? Was that the Boston series against Grapes? That was the Boston series against Grapes. I remember. Yeah, well, I don't remember that, but I've seen it multiple times.
So, John, I do want to say that you brought up Matthews' defensive game and improving. And I think that you actually overshadow his defensive play last year, because his defensive metrics are actually about equal, if not a little worse this year.
See, like you and Kyle Dubas are going to be best friends with your little analytics. Like,
No, but
I'm looking at it from the eye test, and the eye test this year says, from me watching every game this year, this is a complete Austin Matthews this year. This is Austin Matthews,
and I agree with both of you. I agree with both of you, Brent. I agree. He's always been defensively. I've said it since probably year 2. He's the best 60-foot player in the world, right?
Yes.
McDavid's the best hockey player. I've said this since his year 2. His detail away from the puck, if you look at it from a coach's lens, is unbelievable, even at his age now for a young player. The sense that he has, the takeaways that he has. He's always done it. The visual, what you've noticed, and I think most of the fan base would, is the blocking shots. It's putting his body in the way. He didn't necessarily do that. That doesn't mean he wasn't playing the game the right way, because he certainly was. But now he's kind of realized, okay, you know what? I'm not going to, chicken hawk this. I'm going to get in front of it, right?
I think it's also the body too. He's a little bit more willing to.
Well, he's
put a little more weight.
Got more hits than he's ever had.
Yes.
Right. So visually, John, you're seeing absolutely, oh my God, look at Austin. But the defensive side of it, put that stuff. Obviously, they're part of being defenses, blocking shots and taking the man. But the way he competes,
he's always been off the charts.
Yeah, I agree.
And
but he stepped it up.
And that's my point. And it's more visual this year too, because he's not scoring 60.
Yeah.
So when you think of Austin Matthews last year, you were watching him and it was just like, oh my God, every time he touches the puck, there's like an 80% chance he's going to score. Like that's what it felt like.
Yeah.
It felt like every time he touched it, he was going to score. So this year, now that that's not a thing, you kind of get the chance to appreciate the all-around game that he has.
Yeah.
And also his defensive metrics are also down because he's played with Nylander that more than he has Marner, who is an elite forward defensively. Nylander isn't as good defensively as Marner. It's not really that close. So that hurts Matthews a little bit. But the fact that Matthews and Marner can play on the same line, that's like Bergeron Marchand in terms of defensive ability.
Yeah. And if you really think about it, I mean, I've been a fan, right? I've been a fan since he was drafted. I couldn't wait for him to be drafted. And you know, I like him. You know, he's probably my favorite player. Certainly my son's favorite player. But anyway, he's one of those kids that, you know, he's taken the wrong way, right? I think if you talk to a lot of other guys in the league, even maybe some of his teammates along the way, you know, and hockey fans in general, maybe this guy could be a little selfish. Maybe he's all about scoring 70 and he's not, you know what I mean? I've heard it. I've heard, he's, you know, he's all about him and he wants to do it. And I think there may be some truth to it. Who knows, right? We don't know.
Goal scorers want to score.
We don't know the journey that he's on, you know, and I could be totally wrong, but I've seen a difference even from last year to this year in the way he's talking to the media, the way the answers that he's given, he seems like he's more engaged now than when he was scoring 60. He's more into the game as opposed to kind of being in the game and snapping the shot whenever it hits the stick, right? He's now playing the game.
I think the biggest difference that I've noticed has come from his passing ability. He's not just, and as you said, he's not just snapping the puck as soon as he gets it. And I think it's really showing how much skill he has with the puck without the shot. He has that ability to make plays similar to Marner. I mean, if you watched the game the other night, him and Marner, like everybody on the ice looks lost except those two when they have the puck. When either of those two have the puck, it's like you don't know what's happening, but they do.
And if anybody else, and when the other team has the puck, you know, 9 times out of 10 in a hockey game, when you get a hold of the puck and you have it on your stick in your own zone, 9 times out of 10 it's out. Right? NHL defenseman. When Austin and Mitch are on the ice together, the takeaways and they're not going in like a fourth line or a third line going in there and hitting the shit out of them and creating turnovers like that. They're picking these guys' pockets and they're using their body in a smart way. They're not using their body in a reckless way where, you know, they're going to pop a shoulder or, you know, put themselves at risk to be, but really getting in those good seams and protecting the puck by keeping the body between the puck and the opponent. And then you're right. Then all of a sudden Austin's got it. He knows where Mitch is going, right? Okay, nobody else in the rink knows. He chips it off the glass and Mitch grabs it and boom. And then Willie's out front and it's in the back of the net. Like, it's crazy.
Okay, so
every shift.
While I agree with everything that both of you have just said, they're compensated for that. So let's recognize they are two of the absolute top 10 players in the league. We all agree with that. But that's what the expectation is. I feel like as a fan, we need to sit here and sometimes press pause on pumping the tires because this is what we're paying for. This is what the expectation is. The expectation now is no longer that, wow, look at what these guys can do. We know what they can do. Can you bring everybody along with you now? Well, is really the part of the equation that needs to develop for me as a fan.
Two guys can't carry a team in the playoffs. I mean, sure, Matthews could score 8 in our first round and we could still lose. It's just kind of the way it is.
Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that two guys have to carry this team. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is at a certain point, we're pumping Matthews' tires, and he deserves every ounce of it. Marner, the guy's a magician on the ice. No one's taking that away from them. Okay? But what I'm saying is they're also 27% of our salary cap, right? Or 22 or whatever the number is. They need to perform in those moments to that number. And we can't look at it now and be like, hey, they're just below that or they're playing really well, but not quite. No. You're paid to excel at that level at these times. That's the expectation. That's the expectation for me as a fan. And I'm not telling you from a guy in the room and talking about guys and what are we going to do. I'm telling you, as a fan, we know you're great. I know your regular season is stupid. And John, you're right. On the ice, they control the puck and they make 90% great. All of it is true. Now, the difference is, can you do it when it can't? That's and again, sound on the parade. I'm excited. I love this team. I love where we're going. I love everything about this last couple of days. I'm just saying, just like I said, John, temper on the Dubas extension, temper on the Keefe extension, temper on everything. We got to get it done now. That's all I'm saying. I just want to kind of bring it back home in a holistic approach.
I'm with you, but if you look at comparables, you've had you look at the core group in Boston with Chara, Krejci, Berge, Marsh. How many years have they played together? Those guys. They're a good group.
They won an awful lot, though. But they won an awful lot.
They won one cup.
But they won an awful lot of playoff rounds.
Who cares? Who cares?
The only round that matters at the end of the day is the cup.
Like, I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be like, oh, I hope we get out of the first round. Well, no, because if we're going to lose in the second round, I'd rather lose in the first round, right? If you're playing to win the Stanley Cup.
But
yeah,
playing to win the Stanley
Cup. Your rounds don't matter. If you
your rounds don't.
No,
hold on.
No, round one does not matter. It matters to win it, but if you lose it, you're not any more upset than if you lose in the third.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Wow.
What difference does it make?
Boy, you guys are removed from the fan life, I think.
Well,
as a fan, I got news for you. As a fan, it matters getting to the third round. As a fan, it matters getting
You're
to the second
excited
round.
for those
extra
extra 2 weeks
I have
of hockey
hard problems in the first round.
That's the whole reason we're watching the game.
Like I'm thinking if they go into the second and third round, it's gonna be bad for me. Like I can't handle it, right? I get too excited.
Yeah, that's also a fair point too.
Right?
Hospitals need to be on notice.
That's what I want. But no, as a you don't leave if you as a player or even a coach. Of course, a coach, because he's looking out, he gets beat out of the first round 5 times, right? But as a player, if you lose in Game 7 of the first round or Game 4 of the conference final, you didn't win, right?
Yeah,
it's actually annoying. Because it's like, fuck, I've been away from my family for the last month.
We were that much closer, but it doesn't make any difference.
No, it's true. It's true. It's a long
John,
season.
I can't get there, man.
If you're not going to win, why, if you're not playing to win the Stanley Cup, if you're like, oh my God, we just got to the second round, you're in the wrong business. You're in the wrong business.
There will be a moment of excitement when they make the second round, whenever that is. Because it's like, oh, they finally did it. Let's go. Let's see where this goes. But once they lose, I'm not going to be any. No, that's a fan perspective. It's not a player perspective.
When those players exited last spring,
I'm not talking about from a player. I'm talking about it from a fan's perspective. I have not had. My children are now going to be going to university, and they have never seen a team get out of the first round.
I haven't.
Okay. This is a problem. This is a problem, Brett. This is what I'm saying, man.
It's not a problem.
It's not a problem.
How good is it going to be when they do? Right? You gotta look at it.
Every Chicago lenses, Cubs fan. No, man. Like
they won.
But this, boys, you guys are killing me tonight.
No.
This is literally the point of being a fan of an NHL team. Nobody wants to be a fan to be like, hey, great. You know what, guys? We tried. We came really close.
No,
again.
I totally.
Nobody wants to hear that the players. Oh,
and
I was away from my family. Come on. What are you talking about?
That's not. We're not saying that from a fan perspective, though. We're saying it from our perspective as fans. So
I'm saying it tongue in cheek. Of course,
yes,
they want to win.
I know you are. That's why I'm getting fired up. I know you are. That's why I'm getting.
Like we're not saying it's a bad thing if they win the first round and then get eliminated. It just doesn't matter.
You know what? When they exited the last 3 years and they do their interviews and they sit down with the coach and the GM and they talk about, the their future and their series. And I think a lot of them would have gone in there and been honest and said, we could have won this. And they weren't going in there saying,
You
we
hope
lost
so.
in round
Yeah.
one. No, they weren't. They were going, oh my God, we were a bounce away. We could have won this whole goddamn thing this year. And we lost in the first round of Tampa, and it was a great series. And then Tampa steamrolls into the Stanley Cup final. Toronto might have had a better matchup against Colorado.
And that brings up the point of it doesn't matter if it's the first round or conference final. If you're playing against the team that goes to the Stanley Cup final and you're a bounce away from beating them, what difference does it make?
Right.
Because at the same time,
I get it. There's more games, for the fan. It's like, oh my God, if we could get to the conference final, that'd be fantastic. And
I get to drink beer and watch more games.
It would be great. It would be great. And as a fan, absolutely. But my point on it is, if you're going to lose, you're going to lose. Right.
Right. But John, from a management
you don't go in it to win.
You want the home gate.
Division
you want
title.
the home gate, but you want the home gate if you're the team. So you want to win. So it matters. So it matters from a business perspective. From a fan and engagement, which this is where I'm struggling with this. I'm like, every team wants fan engagement.
There hasn't been a second round series in Jurassic Park yet.
This is what I'm saying.
But it hasn't changed the fans at all.
Right?
A lot of Leafs fans say, hey, I'm not going to cheer for them if they lose this year.
Of course we will, but we always will. But that's the point is, though, do we not?
So maybe we blame ourselves as fans a little bit for the management not doing something like this sooner.
Oh, because my goodness.
No.
Now it's our fault. Now it's our fault for being fans.
He did every year. He tried to make this team better. You know what? I want you guys to look at the camera right now and say,
I'm not saying Dubas. I'm not saying Dubas.
Well, I'm just telling you, the last 3 years, going into the playoffs, John, as a fan, okay,
yeah,
the last 3 years you went in thinking, I like this group.
The last three, okay. So if I'm being honest, year one against Columbus, absolutely. I thought totally we should have been there. 100%.
Yep.
Year two against Montreal.
Yep.
Absolutely. 100%. Then I wanted the coach fired. If I'm being honest.
You still want the coach fired.
Well, granted, I still do want the coach fired, if we're being honest about it.
Yep.
But going in last year, I was uneasy going in with what we had. Did I want us to win? Absolutely. Did I look at that team and think legitimately we could beat Vasilevsky 4 times? I was 50-50 on it. It was, I don't know, maybe. After I saw game one where we got out coached and game 2 where we didn't show up, no, I was not confident. So now that was last year as a fan. That's me being honest.
Yep.
This year though, John, I got to tell you, with where we are now and the team that we're going in with now, if we don't make any other moves, let's say we stand pat right now, we can beat Tampa. I'm telling you, we can beat Tampa.
We know.
Yeah.
We can beat Tampa.
Hey,
we
almost beat them last year.
I think we can beat Tampa. I think we can beat Boston.
You guys and we almost beat Tampa last year. It's just silly.
We did.
We should have.
There is so much. There is so much depth at every position. The face-offs, like some of these guys that he brought in. If you dig deep into these guys, Lafferty's leading the league in shorthand. Everybody that they brought in kills penalties, right? Every single guy. You can roll out 3 sets of experienced NHL penalty killers. Three sets out of your top 12, right? Face-offs. The Lafferty kid is 60% in his own end on face-offs, right?
That's absurdly high.
60 in his own end, right? Where you generally lose a little bit.
And the most important face-offs.
And he's leading the NHL in shorthanded goals. And he's big and he's heavy, right? So how many holes could he go in, right? With numbers like that. I mean, you're gonna in a key moment of a hockey game, you can put 55% center icemen on one line and make sure if somebody gets booted out, you've got a guy that's better than the guy that was in there. Right? Faceoffs are a huge part of this. If you read between the lines and the center iceman and the center opportunities,
we're loaded down the middle.
Can mix
we're
and
loaded
match
down the middle.
Ridiculous.
We're loaded everywhere.
Yeah.
There's not a position.
Lafferty can play the wing too.
Like maybe goalie, you could argue we need to pick up a veteran goalie, which I know John wants.
As long as you got a healthy one.
Yeah.
If you know what, I'd like to get a veteran. You know, we talked about Reimer last week and Talbot, and you know, if they could get a guy like that for a late round pick, just to have, I'd like the insurance, but I don't think it's going to come down to goaltending. I really don't.
I don't really. You look at Colorado, we're a very, very similar team to Colorado was.
Better team. It's a better team.
I agree that we're a better team, but built in a very similar way. We're missing the top end defenseman. We don't have a Makar.
Okay, I'm glad you said that because there's a big difference between Cale Makar and.
But we have the better forward core by a mile.
Yeah, a mile.
Like it's not close. You could put your third line as Colorado's second line last year.
It's a similar. I think this team. You're right. You know, you got the Makar dynamic. But there's only one guy like that in the league, right? Fox is good. You know, the Hughes kid in Vancouver's good, but Makar is like, you know, one team has that guy, right? And they happen to have a real good solid line of forwards.
You know what's funny? If you go back though, like, and here's something just to think about, and I don't know whether or not it's going to come to fruition here or not. But if you go back at the past Cup champions, right, over the last, I'm just looking at them here. Colorado had Makar. Tampa's had Hedman. The Blues had what's
captain
his name?
There. He was their captain. He's in Vegas.
Yeah,
now.
you know who I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Washington had Carlson. Pittsburgh's had what's his name? Who's still there? Letang. The Blackhawks had Keith and Seabrook. The Kings had number 8 is still there.
Dowdy.
His name Dowdy. You know what I mean? Every team that's won in the past decade has had that guy. Now, is it possible that you can win without that guy if you've got everything else elsewhere? Maybe.
I think we got 3 or 4. We got 3 or 4 number ones that you can slot in, which is nice. And depending on the game, I don't think any of those teams you mentioned had the versatility on the back end to play heavy or play skilled. They can go into play a run and gun lineup depending on their opponent, or they can go real heavy. And you still don't forget you're still going to have guys available if a series gets goofy and you're up 3-0. You've got the Simmons and you've got the Cliffords and you've got, those guys skating every day that, are going to push the kids and make them tougher and bigger and things like that. So, I mean, just the options that this coach has, you know what? I'll agree with you. If he gets out coached and doesn't get these guys, to I'm not going to say the Stanley Cup, but to the real close, I'll agree with you. Because I honestly,
John, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong.
I don't
I'm
believe
happy to be wrong.
coaching is even going to be an issue.
I don't think it's going to be a factor.
I think there's enough leadership now in that locker room that those guys they're gonna police themselves. They're gonna make sure they're all in a position to succeed, and the coach is basically gonna pull the strings and change the lines. That's what it's going to come down to. And at the end of the day. It's going to be tough to lose. I mean, you have a lot of ways to change your lineup to be hard to play against and difficult to predict how you're going to play. And if he does that, they're going to be short series.
And that's one reason that I think home ice is going to be a huge advantage is that there's so many different ways that you can play against every line. You can line up Matthews and Marner.
That's a good point.
you can like that last change is going to be pretty significant.
Huge. Yeah, I agree.
But I think not having it doesn't hurt us very much, whereas it's just a huge bonus if we have it.
I actually like Keith's road coaching, and I've loved it a lot since he came in. And if you read between the lines on his road game, a lot of times he will dictate what the other coach does. Right.
Yeah.
He changes things around. And if you look at the order, and as a coach, I watch, I'll have the lines 1, 2, 3, 4 in my head, and I'll be going, I'll keep it, and I'll know it goes, 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, 2, 2, that kind of thing. And I'm going, okay, he's not playing those guys. And then I'm watching the other team and saying, okay, he's trying to keep those guys away from those guys. And then when, those guys were on a 1:10 shift, he knew he had to get these guys back out because that's the match they want. And he's very, very good.
He keeps the opposing coach on their toes.
Yeah. And good coaches do that. Good coaches don't care whether they're at home
how
or
he
road.
has not won multiple Jack Adams trophies is beyond me. It's beyond me. You guys are right. He's a great coach.
I mean, he's won at every level he's coached at. So
Yep.
To me, it's only a matter of time, whether it's with Toronto or not. He's going to get another coaching job if they let him go. I'm just letting you know right now. Somebody's
Oh, of course he will. Of course he will.
And
Right away. Yeah.
And even more so, Dubas, there is probably 20 teams in the NHL that will fire their GM tomorrow if he comes available.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, here's we talked about all these trades and the guys coming in, and one thing I remember in our first episode we talked about, and we all wondered because nothing had been done yet. Did Dubas have the keys? Right? Did
Clearly he's got the keys.
Are you
Clearly
think?
he's got the keys.
Yeah, like that's incredible, because I remember saying, okay, is Shanny pulling the strings, or is it ownership? Like, what's happening, right? Because this is unprecedented. This is crazy.
This
moves.
is Neuendijk, Brian Leach back in the day.
But you got to be careful
going all
too,
in.
because I've seen a lot of real good teams become worse, not because they brought in any bad guys, but the dynamic and the chemistry didn't work. I think they've done their homework. I think they, if you look at the guys they brought in, they're all character guys first, right? Everybody that's come in isn't going to come in and not be, jump into a scrum if need be, play heavy, dirty, wash your face every whistle hockey. Find me one guy that doesn't. Right. And the only guy that left your roster is one of the guys that doesn't. Right. You don't want
he was 6'5".
You don't want Rasmus Sandin or Pierre Engvall on the ice if you have a line brawl. But I'm pretty sure you'll take Jake McCabe and Sam Lafferty. You know what I mean?
Twice on Sunday. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's kind of where this team is going to have a different look. Tampa beat the shit out of them last year, right? They did. Well, you know what? I don't think it was a coaching thing. I think that there wasn't an answer for what's his name there, 14? Maroon. Yeah. He ran around that whole series, right? And
you know what? It wasn't their top guys that beat us. It was their third and fourth line that beat us. Paul scored 2.
Yeah.
Paul put the dagger in us.
The kid that won the MVP with Oshawa in the Memorial Cup, what was his name? He was good for them too. Centerman, played for Team Canada. I forget. No, young guy. He won when DJ Smith won the Memorial Cup. He scored the winning goal for Oshawa. I don't know. He's on Tampa's roster.
I think I can.
Listen, either way, the reality is, I think we all feel going into this series that's soon to be upcoming, our third line and our fourth line is not going to be beaten like that again this year.
Well, exactly, and that's what I think. That's why,
right?
All of us love these moves, is because
absolutely
our biggest issue is solved.
Yeah, listen. I think above all else, you know what? We all know I like to hammer on this coach, but in reality, I think, you know, coming from where we've been to where we are now, I don't think legitimately anyone can look at this team and not feel significantly more engaged and significantly more excited about where we are today versus where we were 2 weeks ago. I just don't think you can do that.
I agree. And I think even despite some people maybe being a little upset over Sandin being gone, I don't think anyone can say this is a bad trade deadline for Toronto. Whether you love him or hate him, this is probably the most excessive yet successful trade deadline we've seen in the cap era.
We're Alex Anthopoulos in 2015 for the Jays, man. It's the same thing.
He filled holes that some of us didn't even realize were there until you go, oh, wow, yeah, this is great.
It's a big upgrade, yeah.
Because we asked for a couple guys and would have been happy with that. We all did it. We can go back and play last week and the week before. We're like, oh, we can get this guy and this guy. Wow, I'd be happy.
We're good. We're good.
Hands off. And then he went out and got basically all of them.
Yeah. Yeah, everything we talked about, every single guy he brought in except, you know, Achari and Lafferty, obviously they get thrown in. But Pat Kane, I mean, he went for what, a third-round pick?
Yeah. And here's the thing, and that's why the sponsors want to advertise on our show.
Yeah. Because we're right.
Speaking of which, yeah, so we're going to go to a quick ad break. We'll be right back here in about 2-3 minutes. Before we go, want to give a quick shout out to oldcitysports.com. They host us. They do all of our promoting and help us out tremendously. And they've got lots of great other shows over there, lots of great articles. So go check them out. And in the meantime, enjoy the ads. Are you in the market for some new slick Leafs or NHL apparel? Go to the Fanatics link on this video to save site-wide. Promotions are always changing, but right now get free shipping for 24 hours when you buy through us. You save money and help support the pod in the process. Fanatics. Do you know a sports fanatic and just not know what to get them? Or maybe you just want a little piece of history for yourself. Go to row1brand.com and use promo code OCSN15 for 15% off all site-wide artwork. Do you have a wild beard that needs taming? Well, go to www.norsebeards.com and use promo code OCS for 25% off. Old City Sports is partnered with a few fantastic breweries, and we highly recommend that you check them out. Chamonix Brewing, Hangman Brewing, and Sterling Pig Brewing as well. If you get hungry while having a few cold ones, check out Righteous Felon Craft Jerky and use promo code OCSN for 20% off your jerky. And we're back. Thanks for sticking around through that. A little quick ad break. Looks like Johnny Mac had to attend to some business there, but yeah, anyways.
So
yeah,
you know what we didn't really touch on though. We didn't really touch on the addition of Jake McCabe. Where do you see him playing? Is he the number two? I think he's the second pair guy now, right? Is that fair?
So, to be honest with you, I think this is a great problem to have because you have a lot of number twos. You probably don't have that top defenseman, but you have 4 number twos.
4 legit number twos, right?
Legit number twos. You have Brody, you have Riley, you have McCabe now. I would argue Liljegren can step up into that role, and Giordano can definitely play in that role. Yeah. And there's no question, no doubt in my mind that Mark Giordano can do that. And I think you're going to be surprised about how many minutes he eats in the playoffs.
I just hope he's got enough in the tank. No, I mean, I just hope he's got enough in the tank because he's been eating a lot of minutes so far this year.
And I would agree with that, except for that's the type of player that he is. He's not doing it because he has to. He's doing it because he wants to. They've offered him time off.
Brent, I'm with you, man. My only thing is at 39, sometimes what your mind wants and what your body eventually gives into, right? It's two different things.
I don't disagree. And I mean, obviously, I personally haven't experienced that. But at the end of the day, Mark Giordano is going to be okay. He doesn't play a style where he needs to be extremely fast, and his body's not going to give out on him more now than it was in the regular season. Maybe he gets hurt, but as of right now, like, the guy can eat minutes, and he's going to do so in the playoffs. And Johnny Mac, what we were getting into, we were kind of trying to figure out where McCabe's going to slot in on the lineup, as well as we brought up the problem of having a bunch of number 2s and 3s.
Well, yeah,
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's a real good problem to have, and you got enough games now to really, throw it in the blender. And I would do that with the forward group a little bit too. And he's already doing that. He's got, he's putting the guys in a position to succeed, right? So he's played, 30 games with Nylander, with Matthews, and now he's back to Marner, right? So if something isn't going in the playoffs, he's got that option. These guys are familiar with each other. He's got to now integrate, right, the rest of the guys into this, right? There's going to be some times when you go down with injuries, we're going to need a couple of the bottom 6 guys to play some minutes.
Slot out,
right? Yeah. So you got to maybe give a Chari, or maybe not a Chari, but
Lafferty, or
you laugh, let them go up and play with JT and Willie, and maybe slot take Ryan O'Reilly and go back to a third line, look at what you're going to do in the playoffs. Slot somebody into where you think Matty Nyes is going to go, right? And try to get you want to have options. And with the defense, honestly, I wouldn't even begin at this point to predict, because you're going to say, and you're right, there's lots of 2s or 3s, but I'll tell you, every other general manager and coach in the NHL would love to have the problem that Toronto has on the back end right now. Right. Now you've got to find the way to make it work. Right. And it might not be as conventional as you think.
Guys are going to need to understand their role too.
Yeah.
Because when you have a bunch of guys that are probably capable of playing in a top pairing,
yes,
it might come down to who is okay with taking a little bit of a smaller role just to fit that bill. Because you might be playing with 3 seconds.
Do we see Morgan? Do you think Morgan? Right. Does anybody think Morgan Riley might be the guy who needs to step back a little bit?
Morgan Riley will start the playoffs as the first pairing defense, pairing defense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm not saying that. That's not what
much
I'm saying.
Better. Toronto's a graveyard for defensemen, and they've,
No, but
I don't
listen to what I'm saying here, though. I'm not saying Morgan Riley is not necessarily your number 1 defenseman. But does Morgan Riley necessarily play against the other team's number 1 unit? Is what I'm asking. Because all of a sudden, if you can get other guys, if you can get another,
you got 6 guys now. You got 6.
That's what I'm saying, right? If you free up Morgan Riley to play against a smaller lineup,
but you're doing that's just line matching. That's just line matching. That's going to be done on the fly. It's hard to say.
So Toronto's defense is so deep, and I'm going to tell you, because I've been looking at it, and I keep looking at it, and I go, okay, yeah. You could literally, and I've done this as a coach in the past. I had a bunch of 2s and 3s, right? Okay. But I had no 4s, 5s, and 6s. So I take those 2s and 3s, and you find the best 3 combinations of those 2s and 3s. And special teams plays such a role now. You got your dedicated PK guys, you got your dedicated PP guy, right? 1 on each unit now, right? So forget that. If you have the luxury, and I really believe if they're healthy, they do, of rolling, you don't
just
care.
Let them go.
You're that good that they're worried about who your defensemen are going to be, not, you know what I mean? They're trying to figure out, okay, how do we beat how do we beat Shen and Giordano? How do we beat Riley and McCabe, right? And it's scary when you go up against a team that you don't really kind of know. It's like Toronto's first and second line, which, pick your poison, right?
And now third line.
And now you got a third line that can score, and you got a fourth line that doesn't lose faceoffs, and they hit, and they're big.
And you're not going to score against them very often.
They're not going to play that much.
No.
But like, I watched Luke Shen closely the last couple of years, right? Saskatchewan boy, and he didn't play a lot, but when he played, He played heavy, killed penalties. He
Difference
played
maker.
those. Yeah, but he was playing 7-8 minutes a game, and you remember him. You remember some of the hits. A couple fights in the playoffs the last couple of years, right? And not stupid fights. Luke Schen's not going to cost you. Luke Schen's not going to jump a guy from behind.
He's not going to Kyle Clifford us in game 1, is what you're telling me.
Right. Luke Schenn is going to stand there and he'll drop his gloves and fight you, and he'll protect his teammates, and he'll certainly protect his goaltenders. And then McCabe is the same and 10 years younger, 8 years younger, whatever it is, and bigger and stronger. So you're bringing in some pretty darn good pedigree. McCabe, I don't think he's been to the playoffs yet, has he?
No,
because he came Buffalo and then Chicago. So, so he's
good pedigree with the U.S. juniors, though. Good pedigree with the U.S. juniors.
But he doesn't have to be. They're so deep. They can ease these guys in. They don't have to. They can play 6 guys, straight up, 20 kind of minutes, and be good.
Yeah, right? Outside of having your PKers and
special teams is going to change it. But why not balance it? You got lots of 2s and 3s. Balance it. Don't try to have a number 1, number 2, number 3 pairing. Why? Right? You're the hunted. You want to go into this playoff round with a mindset that I don't give a shit what the other coach does as far as line matching. We're better line match.
We're better.
Because I'm going to go out now. Whatever line I put out is going to beat the shit out of whatever line they put out. And whether it's my 4th line or my 1st line.
And for the first time in a long, long, long time, I think we're at that point.
Yeah.
Like, I really do. I'm confident in whoever we're matching up against. I really feel confident in that we're good. We're good. Now,
heavier. They're heavier.
One other question. Do you guys legitimately see Alexander Kerfoot on this team by the end of the week?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
No, I think they almost will give him away just to free up a little cap. I mean,
too much of a luxury.
If you get a goalie for Alex Kerfoot, I was going to trade him for Schenn, and they probably tried to because Kerfoot's a Vancouver guy. Vancouver might not have wanted him,
but we're going to get rid of him one way or another. I think. I don't think it's going to be bringing anything.
You can't have a $3 million guy healthy scratched in the playoffs because right now he may be a healthy scratch. Certainly when Nyes comes back,
he's going to be pretty close to that line.
He might be the 12th forward when Nyes comes back, right? And you never know what some of these other guys are going to do.
Yeah, no.
Listen,
I'm okay. I'm okay with him not being here. I know the coach loves him. So,
he's a good player. He just doesn't fit on this lineup.
Guys like him too. That's what
boys
like him too. It would have been tough today with the Swedes. Like, let's not discount that. When Sandin and Engvall got moved, that's going to upset Willie. That's going to upset. These are kids that grew up with this franchise, right? That played with a lot of these guys in the minors, played for Keefe. It's very, very difficult. It's nice at a trade deadline to see guys come in, right? But it's real sad, especially because I think they were too well-liked kids. They grew up in the system. It would have been very difficult for Dubas to do, right? Because now, how many guys got traded away at the deadline from a team that won the Stanley Cup, and you just put your guts into this franchise for the last 8 years since they drafted you, and you did what they asked and ate what they told you to eat, and did what did the exercises in the off season, and then they're that close and they dump me for a 3rd round pick, and then all of a sudden they win a Stanley Cup. It's hard, and the Swedes were real close in that locker room, real close.
The fan in me says I appreciate that, but I've also heard every player who's ever left an organization tell me this is the business of the game.
Of course.
But they're not going to rip the guy.
No. I'm not. All I'm saying, So all I'm saying is it difficult? Yeah, absolutely, sure.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, we're trying to win.
Yeah,
it's exciting.
And
we're trying to
bittersweet.
Win. And so if your team gets better, but David had to go or Timmy had to go or what, but you're better. I feel like
The players are going to forgive the GM very quickly.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Yeah, they're going to be mad for 5 minutes and they're going to be sad because their buddy left. But they can look at the big picture and they're all intelligent enough guys to know that the guys that they brought in are better than Pierre Engvall and Rasmus Sandin and Kerfoot if he goes to, right?
Yeah,
they just are. And guys want to win, but it's just you talk about team dynamic when new players come in, right? New players come in and you want them to fit in and find a good chemistry with the group. Finding chemistry after good guys leave is just as difficult, right? Because you got to sit back and say, okay, poor this guy's going. Sometimes they resent the guy that came for him. These aren't player for player deals anymore, but that's happened too in the past where, a guy gets traded and a real popular guy leaves this locker room and a dick comes back the other way, but he might be a little bit better of a player, but he's a dick and nobody likes him. And you can get real bitter, but we
don't think we're there, right? Like we don't think
there's no player for player deals,
right? But that's what I mean though. Like I agree, all of that can happen. I don't think that's what we're talking about here.
No,
right?
No.
I think we all agree. The locker room with who we brought in proven winners, guys that have been there, guys that are filling needs, guys that are upgrades on just about every level that we can come across. I think we all agree. Above all else, boys, we're excited, right? For the last couple weeks.
It's hard not to be right now. I think.
And you know what? And Matthew Nice is still coming.
Well, exactly. Then you can bring this guy in not with no pressure, right? It's probably going to be after the first round. Minnesota's good. So they're going to go to the Frozen Four.
They'll be the final
usually
four. Yeah.
Right around the
3 weeks from now.
First round.
It's about 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's right. Right at the beginning of the playoffs, first round, or halfway through the. When did McCarr join? He joined in Calgary, but didn't they play Nashville first or St. Louis first that year? I don't remember. But,
I don't remember, but
his first game was in the Calgary.
Denver, right?
It's a wash, anyways, because they're not going to bring him in halfway through a series. I don't think. I think
they'll bring him in, but he won't play.
Yeah,
he'll
he
be
won't
with
play.
the guys, and he'll travel.
He'll practice,
and he'll be the type of guy. Honestly, like if you're rolling, it's you get on a heater, you don't change much.
No.
And so if they win the first round in 5 and get into the second round, and he's not playing until there's some bad adversity, and they gotta shake it up, right? If they're going
yeah,
good,
they lose 2 in a row, and you put a guy in to get little power play time or whatnot. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, he's not. I mean, they're going to be ready for him, and they're going to get him up to speed quickly.
He's going to have to replace Matthews or Marner in another couple of years when one of them goes.
Yeah,
right? You can't have two $15 million players on one team, so we know that something's going to give in the next couple of years. They're both going to get $15 million, and the cap is not going to go up to the level that's going to be able to sustain.
Cap would have to go up significantly.
There'd have to be almost no cap, right?
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. So they have to, and that goes back to which one would you keep, right? And I'm a Matthews guy, but I would get I get him while you can get him to the desert. So you could read.
This is an off-season topic.
Draft.
This is an off-season topic, but just remember, Johnny, at the beginning of the show, you were ready to offer an extension to the general manager who also signed Tavares to $11 million to put us in a position to have this problem to deal with a no trade clause. Just saying.
Yeah, but he also put us in a position to win.
Just saying. I'm just saying.
Hey,
no.
You know what?
Listen, hey, we're here now. I'm just saying.
You get there. If he gets there this year or even next year, he gets there, and wins,
he gets a statue, and I don't care. He gets a statue
and wins that cup, right? It's all worth it.
I agree.
So if the Leafs win a cup, this is a question for you, John. Does Keefe will you be okay if they throw up a statue of Keefe?
I will personally come out and paint the statue myself.
Okay.
Facts. Boys, listen, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm not that guy who's have to be right all the time. I'm happy to be wrong. I want to be wrong. I just don't think he's a good coach. That's just my opinion.
That's fair. And I don't think we need to dive into that again.
No, we don't. We've been there.
But
no, I'm happy. Listen, if Keefe wins, boys, I will come down. I'll hold the cup for him at the parade, the whole 9 yards. It'll be great.
Yeah, and kind of summing up all the deals that have been made, we lost a lot of picks, but if you look at what we shipped out today and what we got back, this we got a first back for Sandin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From a team that's not contending. Why is that? That's insane.
And I think from a fan base, from a fan's perspective, I think what gets lost a lot of the time is fans look at the future all the time, and we're always worried about what's coming and what's coming and what's coming. And that's fine. And I think maybe in Toronto, it's a little bit more hypersensitive to that, simply because we haven't won in so long. That when you're in win now mode,
those picks
4
are
years,
currency,
4 years from now, that doesn't matter. The whole reason you have those picks is so when you get to win mode now, you can move those picks. That's the whole thing.
Picks are currency. You're either
absolutely
it's what they are in the NHL.
Picks are currency, and so is having the roster players that Toronto has. Let's not forget about that. You can your cupboards could be bare with draft picks, but you could turn an Austin Matthews or a William Nylander or Mitch Marner, any of those three for sure, into a boatload of picks.
Look at what Tampa just gave up for what's his name?
Right.
What
for
they
a
got
guy that he's got 10
You're going to
points.
tell me if we decided to flip Willie Nylander, we could not recoup every pick in the world that we just gave away?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
What are we talking about?
And at the end of the day,
any one of those guys is going to get you 2 or 3 firsts, a second, a roster player. I mean, they're generational players, right?
Yeah.
And William Nylander, the way he's played this year, is joining that conversation. He's good. It doesn't matter who you play him with.
He might get 15 million.
Right.
On the open market, you know what? On the open market, he's getting paid.
Absolutely.
Yeah, somebody will pay him at least 13.
So Toronto can look at it. You got to go back and rebuild. I think Dubas is a type of GM that will go, along the Pittsburghs and the Chicagos, and let's get this core together. And we're going to make some changes. Some of them have to go. It's a different world than when Stan Bowman was doing it in Chicago. Totally different world with the cap and
spend money. Let's get these guys.
Right. He had the guys. He was lucky that Kane and Taves and Bufflin and Bolin and Keith and Seabrook, they all kind of came in together. Right. I remember Bolin's first preseason there. I went to Chicago and watched a game, and I was sitting in the kind of the family section, and Duncan Keith's parents were right behind us, and he was a rookie too. So it was, it was pretty exciting that these kids grew up together. And these guys, it's doing the same thing here. Took them a little while to get going, but when they got going, they were in it every year for years, right? We're going to lose one. Guaranteed one of them's going. And I don't think it'll be Nylander. I think he would be the one they could probably get the cheapest. But those other two, I mean, Marner's getting max and Matthews is getting max.
And the thing about Marner is he's a Toronto kid. So he's probably going to give you the most term because realistically, if he signs another extension in Toronto, he wants to be a Toronto Maple Leaf for life.
For sure.
Period. That's just how it is. There's no coming home after his career. He's home.
Right.
Do you think Austin Matthews signs like a 3-year deal?
Maybe. Yeah, I could see that more realistic than an 8.
John, I agree with you 100% because if I'm Matthews and the cap is good and the cap is going to go up exponentially over those 3 years, your long-term money on the back end on an 8-year deal at a back end is going to be significantly more.
He'd probably do 3 at 13 or 14 and then walk. Right? Because guess what? The kid likes to win. He's won Rookie of the Year.
He's won his whole life. He's won his whole life.
Right? He wants to win a cup or several cups. So he's going to look at it, and we'll see how they do in the playoffs this year. It's going to be a factor. But he can sign as of July 1st, right? He can sign whatever he wants as of July 1st. They got to get that done if they're going to do it, or they got to move him. Right? This can't drag on into the season because you cannot afford for that guy to walk. Right. And I think he's got protection. He's, you know what I mean? Like it's not going to be.
No, as of July 1st, you can't trade him.
As of this July 1st?
Yeah.
Okay. So they got to do it in June if they do.
But he can sign though, right?
I mean, they could have the plot line for a deal done.
They have him for They have him for next year already under contract.
Yeah,
so
his last year is on.
I would go to his agent when the season ends and say, okay, let's do. What do you want? A 3-year, 5-year, 7, 8? What do you want? And if he comes back and says, we'll do 3, but we want 13. And if they say, well, we'll do 3, but we only want to give him 11. I mean, doesn't he want to win? And then they go back and forth and they go, okay.
He's not signing for less than what he's making now.
No, right? For sure.
And so here's something to think about. And this is, let's hope we never have to get down this road. But let's say we bow out again in the first round. There's a high probability that we have a new general manager.
No.
You don't. Okay. All right, boys.
Who out there is going to be able to do what Dubas has done?
I don't know. I feel like that's the false argument. Like we're going to stick with a guy who hasn't been able to deliver because
he has delivered.
Else is going to be able to deliver.
He has delivered.
Not if we lose again. No,
yes,
he got McCabe. He got McCabe and Lafferty for less than what Tampa paid for Jeannot or whatever. He fought a few times last year and scored 20 goals.
But John,
and they got a first and a third. What?
If Tampa wins, doesn't matter.
Dubas can't get on the ice though.
No, I mean that. Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying that.
Okay, well,
if you look at the deals he made compared to what everybody else
based
paid
on
for
what a general manager does, nobody has done what Kyle Dubas has done since he's been in the league.
Boys, listen.
You send Kyle Dubas out, and which is what a lot of fans are calling for if we lose in the first round. Then you are in trouble because he's going to go win a cup in his first 3 years with a new team.
Based on what, though?
The team that he's put together in Toronto.
But if that team hasn't won in 5 years with a loaded roster, with him,
they're playing against team every year. Okay, they've played it earlier. It's not that this team today isn't last year.
Listen, I'm on board. I'm on board. I'm on board with this team. Hold on. Let's not get negative on it. I'm positive.
No, but the point is they played against.
If they lose again, with him at the helm, with his fingerprints on a roster that was good enough to win, but just didn't.
Okay, yes.
How many times do you get let down by the same girl who goes to the prom with you every year, but then when she gets to the prom, finds a handsome guy and goes, "I don't really want to dance with you anymore."
I get
maybe I don't go to that girl anymore.
So looking at it from a total fan perspective, I totally understand what you're saying. But if you if you dive into it, this roster has played against the team that made the Stanley Cup final, won the Stanley Cup 2 years prior. They played against Washington, who won a cup within 2 years of playing Toronto.
Don't forget Columbus.
Columbus wasn't a real playoff series. 5 games. Doesn't count.
Oh, man. You Keefe guys make these arguments.
Well, it's not a Keefe guy. It's just not really. That was such an unusual circumstance. I mean, people discredit the Los Angeles Lakers championship.
Does anybody look at Tampa Bay Stanley Cup and go, that Stanley Cup doesn't count because it was
No.
Well, then what are we talking about that the Leaf series doesn't count?
It was a 5-game series. It wasn't a first round. It was literally a regular season, basically. It was a 5-stretch regular season.
That's irrelevant because and I keep saying it's a different team every year, right? But the you put too much focus on what the coach does, and this isn't.
We're talking about the general manager. I haven't even.
I'm talking about the coach and the general manager. Okay, general manager has put a team together that could win the last 3 to 4 years, right? I think the coach has coached the team the right way. I don't sit there and go, what he's doing. If these guys at 15 or 12 or 11 million, whatever they're making, can't motivate themselves. So coaches don't motivate anymore. That's not how it's not the rah, hey guys, we're going to beat. No, it's not like that anymore. It's very analytical. You've got guys,
it's line matching,
specialty coaches. It's matching lines. I watch it as a coach, and I watch all the games, and I watch it, and there's very few things that I blatantly disagree with what Keefe is doing. So from a technical side of it, he understands the game. He understands matchups. He understands minutes. I mean, you could tell a coach by the consistency of, you could kind of watch a game and guess between about a minute and a half of each guy what he's going to play that night. And it's pretty consistent. And when a guy's going good, his ice time goes up. And when a guy's going bad, his ice time goes down. Whereas back in the Babcock days, it wasn't like that. The veterans played, and the younger guys kind of got beat around and played a little bit, but he wasn't going to give them the leeway. And that, he's developed a lot of good players that worked for him. Didn't work for this group. This does, right? And all he does is match the lines, keep the guys ready, hold them accountable. It's not about rah and
I also
threatening them and stuff like that. It's not
you're
that.
Totally right. And I want to bring it up too. Like it keeps going back to what does it matter if it's the conference final or the first round? Kyle Dubas might be putting a team together that's losing in the first round. If they were in the Western Conference, they probably have played in 3 conference finals right now. Doesn't matter if they haven't won a cup, because let's say they still get beat by Tampa. They still get beat by Montreal, whoever it is that's there. It doesn't matter, because the team is good enough to win against the best teams in hockey. They've shown that.
And you know what, John, I'll agree with you at the end of this run. If I still maintain, like you asked earlier, could they lose in the first round? Yes. Yes. They could get swept in the first round. Look at Columbus swept Tampa. Everybody had Tampa steamrolling that year.
They had them winning the
Columbus
cup, and it wasn't close.
Them in 4 games, and Columbus was like squeaked in on the last day of the regular season.
And then got knocked around in the second round.
But to show it was a fluke, then Tampa went on to go to 3 Stanley Cup finals in a row.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So
listen, I can live with
that here.
Listen, I can live with the Leafs getting beat in the first round. Listen, John, I can live with it. All I'm telling you is when I hear people make those analogies, like we're good enough and we could have and we should, listen, all of it's great. It's all theory. We didn't. And I'm confident this year we're gonna stay positive, boys. We got to keep this positive and uplifting, right? I'm positive that this year we're in a different state across the board. I'm not worried about negativity from years gone by, because I think that for once, going into this playoffs where we are now, finally we've seen the light, and the players that we've gotten and the team that we've assembled is ready to beat those teams that are in front of us. I don't think we were there in the past. This year, I think we are.
So just getting back to Keefe, what do you think he should do different now that you've agreed that he's got the group? Okay.
Yeah.
We all agree that Dubas has put the the pieces together to say, okay, here's what you got. Right. I'm sure Keefe goes into his office and says, I need a 3rd line centerman. Boom, gets one. Need some more grit on the bottom 6. Boom, gets them. Need face-off guys. Boom, gets them. Need some meat on the back end. Boom, gets them. Right? So what can, in your opinion, Sheldon Keefe do differently to succeed with this group that, he didn't succeed?
That he hasn't been able to do in the past?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing that he can do is make sure that this team comes out every night from the beginning of the face-off and plays a 60-minute game. And John, I'm not interested in Austin Matthews is here, Tavares is here, O'Reilly. I'm not interested. If you're not going to play and you're not going to be committed to playing and you're making the same mistakes in the first period and the second, then you sit. Then other guys go up above you in the line combinations. If the defense isn't working, then you've got to take guys out of the line. Okay? We cannot continue, which under Sheldon Keefe happens all too common. It's all too common. The Leafs do not play a 60-minute game from start to finish. It's a rarity.
Okay, but it's got nothing to do with the coach. It's the player.
You keep telling me that. But the coach is the one who decides who goes on the ice.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you something. If you and I'm an old school guy, so that's probably more how I coached. But what you're saying is we're going to put the lineup out there, and if Marner and Matthews are having an off night, you're only going to play them 6 minutes. They're playing like shit. You're going to play them 6 minutes. You'll be gone. You'll be run out of town by the agents. You will.
Johnny,
right?
I'm not
there
talking
is
about
a
playing him
order.
6 minutes. What are we talking about?
You said if a guy's not going, he goes down, right? I'm just saying. I'm saying that those guys got to get their minutes. Okay. Now my problem with it is they've got to. His job is to allocate minutes. You're right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
There's only so much wiggle room you have with your superstars. Right. So if you want to get into, guys, the only coach like that left is John Tortorella, and he's going to be done in another year.
And he's going to be done in, okay. So,
right?
but
Bob Hartley's are gone. All these guys that coached like that are gone. The players run the league. Actually, it's not even the players. The agents run the league. If Mitch Marner gets benched for the third period tomorrow night, I promise you his agent's on the phone with Kyle Dubas the next morning and says, don't you effing
embarrass my player.
My player again, or we'll, and this is daily. Okay. So coaches have to go in here and they have to do what they can to motivate. But these guys, and that's why I think Dubas has surrounded, like bringing in an O'Reilly. O'Reilly's going to have them ready to play, not Sheldon Keefe. John Tavares hopefully will have them ready to play. Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner are old enough that they should be having them ready to play, right? And then the coach can go out and do what he does. But there's no more of the rah-rah. Like even these, coaches half the time don't even go into the room, between periods.
Clear.
They don't need to.
I'm not talking about taking somebody from a 23-minute player a night like Matthews and playing him 6 minutes. That's not what I'm saying. But,
I know.
But what I am saying is, look at everybody's favorite defenseman is Justin Hall, right?
Yeah.
How many times?
Well, most
how many
people hate
times?
him,
but how many times can Justin Hall be on the ice making the same mistakes and still be on that ice?
But he's still doing he's doing little things right constantly.
Yeah. So as a coach,
if you're doing the big things, but if you're missing on the big points, I don't care what you're doing.
If you make
that's a
mistakes,
formula that you have to have as a coach. You got to say, okay, I know this guy's going to give it away, or he's going to get beat, or he's going to get flat-footed. But how many little things is he going to do well for me on the other 20 shifts that he plays tonight?
And
right?
that's what,
and you weigh risk and reward, and honestly,
sure.
and the
I can get with that.
The fan side of it is I could go and find 2 shifts of any player in the National Hockey League from any game and play them back to you as an audience and say, this guy's shit. Watch this shift. Then it's Nathan McKinnon. And he had a shift off, right? So a lot of times the focus comes to.
But the upside of Nathan McKinnon is here.
Yeah.
And so I can live with Nathan McKinnon when Nathan McKinnon is there.
But I get what you're saying.
Justin Hall's upside is here.
But
and
Justin
Hall's giving me that. I'm not interested.
Justin Hall brings a lot more to the game than what you are seeing on the TV through a broadcast. You have to really, really, really dive into every game that he plays and understand that he's doing all the little things right. Keefe isn't just like, oh my God, this guy's a fun guy to talk to. I'm just going to keep throwing him out there. That's not how it works.
I don't know. He took him out of the lineup and said, your play is dropped off. You need to sit. So either he's seeing something that I'm seeing, or he's not, or he just took him out of the lineup for fun.
But you're not seeing. That's how you see him every game, though. You're not seeing him as.
Yeah, I'm seeing as Keefe should have done it a long time ago.
But Hall's going to be back in the lineup.
Sadly, I know.
He Hall has not been bad for the Leafs this year. He's been fantastic.
Hall's going to play minutes in the playoffs. He's not a 7. He's not going to be,
Hall's your 5th or 6th defenseman.
Okay, so you just asked me, what can Sheldon Keefe do? Sheldon Keefe cannot play him. He is not a top 6 forward or top 6 defenseman.
But he is
with the lineup that we have now. He's not. I don't see that.
But that's not why you're not a coach or a GM in the National Hockey League.
No, fair
because
point.
At the end of the day, This is a business of winning. Okay. I obviously not nowhere near that level, but I coached a very high level at a lot of different levels. And it's a business of winning. I can assure you, I would trade my son if I had to trade him to put my team in a better position. And I'd look him in the eye and say, I can get a better player for you. Right? At the end of the day, as a coach, you're being paid to win. Right? And you have to do whatever you have to do to get there. And if he honestly thought Justin Hall was going to be instrumental in him not being able to have a job anymore, he wouldn't play him.
Okay, so hold
right?
on.
He's an NHL coach.
Yeah, but Johnny, listen, we got Brody.
Yeah,
we got Riley.
Yeah,
we got McCabe.
Yeah,
we got Liljegren.
Yeah,
and we got Gio.
Yeah,
are you going to tell me you're starting Justin Hall over either one of those 5 players?
5 players. So you got
Riley, you got Brody, you got Gio, you got McCabe, and you got Liljegren. You got 5 players there.
So what I'm going to do right now is
who are you starting? Who are you taking out?
Well, I don't know because I haven't seen them all play with each other yet.
Okay,
I'm not going to make that determination. I wouldn't make that determination.
Knowing what you know about Justin Hall, who you've seen play with this team, and again, remember, all those aside from McCabe, and I think we all agree that McCabe is a better player than Justin Hall.
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so
absolutely.
I think it's closer than you think it is, though.
That's terrifying, but fair enough.
I got him in ahead of Liljegren. If I'm looking at all the Leafs,
you got him ahead of Liljegren?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
In the playoffs? Right. Yes.
Wow. Okay.
The offensive upside's not
right. If I'm starting today and I have to start today and I'm going to put 6 guys in the lineup. Obviously Riley, Gio, McCabe, Brody, and probably Shen. I probably have Hall as 7. Right.
Okay.
Today.
So Shen doesn't. So Hall does not start.
No, as of today, but I haven't had a chance
to
watch.
So we're good. I agree with you. We're good. I agree with you.
There's a million ways you could rearrange this defensive.
Yeah. Listen,
lineup,
I'm okay. Be very clear here. I'm okay if Justin Hall is your 7-8 guy. I'm okay with him.
I do want to say too that Justin Hall is a better defenseman than Shen. He just doesn't fit the lineup as well.
Right.
Fair point. I could get
Luke
there.
Luke Shen can play 6
He doesn't
minutes
do for this team what we need him to do.
Luke Shen can play 6 to 8 minutes and be very, very effective and bring a presence to your bottom 5-6 pairing. Right.
Which is what we need.
Yeah. And Luke Shen might be with Justin Hall in that pairing, right? Luke Shen might be
a slow pairing.
What Justin Hall needs. Well, you know what? It depends on who you're playing. If you're at home, you know, there's all kinds of factors. You can't just say, okay, these are my 6. Who are we playing? What's their lineup look like? What did they do at the deadline? How are they playing? What are our matchups like? And then you gotta.
But didn't we all agree at the beginning of the show that we just said that we're at a point where we don't need to do that anymore? We don't need to worry about who the other team is matching up with.
But your pairings still matter.
No. I'm talking about I'm talking about what lineup I'm going to put in. I'm not talking about my pairings. I'm talking about what lineup we're going to play. Yeah, it matters. Who are we playing? Are we playing Edmonton tonight?
Well, we're playing Tampa. We're playing Tampa.
Yes, but we're saying on any given night you can roll your lines, and it doesn't matter who is facing up 1 versus 3. That kind of stuff. We're not saying that the lineup doesn't matter.
Okay.
We don't have 10 people on defense that we can just roll in and out.
Yeah.
So it depends on the matchup if Hall will be in the lineup, if Shen will be in the lineup.
That's what I meant.
Okay.
I mean,
fair point. Okay, sorry. I'm with you.
18, 20 games now that, like I said earlier, I would have every different combination. I would rest Giordano every 3rd or 4th game here for the next little while. I'd rest Riley. I'd rest Brody. I'd put some of these young guys in. I'd give Timmins some reps, Gustafson some reps. Let these guys make us a pecking order that, you know, we're playing a skilled team. Here's our 6. Here's our 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I can get with that, Johnny. I can get with that.
Timmins is a guy that we haven't talked about at all yet. Yeah. And it's a very interesting case because he just signed with them. He just signed with term.
Perfect.
So
he's your 8.
Yeah, I agree that he's the 8. but clearly they see a role for him as well, and he's their insurance, I think. So you have to look at anyone that they have now or they went out and got. They're not insurance. They're going to play. They're there to play because Timmins is your insurance.
Yep.
Justin Hall's
absolutely.
not your insurance.
Jordy Ben will get in if 4 guys get hurt.
Yes.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Jordy Ben was a
Ben's
top
capable.
4 on that Montreal team 2 years ago that went to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah,
He's a very capable hockey player, though.
He can't skate anymore.
Wow.
That's Jordy Ben's issue.
He could play bottom 6. He could play a bottom pairing minute, though, no problem. He could play 6 minutes a game, no problem.
But you would not want. I think we all agree. You don't want Jordy Ben playing 6 minutes a game.
Not with who I have now.
In a 7-game series. Right?
No, not with who I have now. Not with who the Leafs have now. But
okay, I'm with you then.
If 4 guys go down, I'm comfortable with Jordy Ben being the backup option.
Well, I mean, if 4 guys go down, yeah, of course you are. Then you're taking what you can get.
I'm just saying, like most teams have that issue. If 1 guy goes down, you might have someone like Jordy Ben stepping in. So I'm saying that, like, realistically, Jordy Ben is still a capable NHL hockey player. He's just not in there's NHL teams he would be in the starting 6 on.
And listen, Timmins, for what it's worth, Timmins has always been a player with great upside. He just hasn't been able to stay healthy.
No, he has been, and that's why they signed him. That's why they gave him some term, and they gave him a couple $1 million to stay with the team.
You know what?
He has that upside. He replaces Sandin.
And listen, he's been good when we've had him in. All he's done is produce.
No,
right?
he's been great. He makes really bad mistakes sometimes, but that comes down to inexperience and not playing a lot
not playing a lot of hockey over the last few years.
And
for sure.
And you know what? We had a defenseman that we just shipped out with high upside offensively, and that was Sandin. Yeah. But so by getting rid of Sandin, we don't lose much because now we have Connor Timmins in the pipeline, who's going to be just as capable next year.
I know we disagree on Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson slides in.
Where though? When?
No.
I see him as the third on the left-hand side.
That's
where I see.
You think he's better than
Hall? I do for sure.
I can't.
Maybe that's just my negativity speaking. Who knows? But
I think you have a vendetta against Justin Hall.
You wouldn't be the first person to say so.
So what are we going to do in Western Canada this week? You know what sucks being out here? I've been in Saskatchewan the last 12 years. Being out here, the games are on so late already, right? I like to go to bed early, and the games start here minimum 8:00. When I lived in Saskatoon, I'd get Leaf games at 5, right? It was awesome. But these ones out west this weekend are 11:00 at night here at start. So I'll be taping them and watching them in the morning, I think.
Yeah.
Late for me.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I'd have a tough time doing that.
I'm up till about 3 a.m. every morning anyways. So
what do you have? I'm happy with 4 points in these 3 games. You already got 2 in the bank in Seattle. All these teams are going to be up to play here. The Toronto Maple Leafs just made all these trades. Real easy to motivate the guys and saying, oh yeah, we're a non-playoff team in Calgary or Vancouver. We're going to go out there and bust our ass, and you never know.
I'm going to surprise you boys. Okay, I'm going to surprise you here. I'm okay if we don't get any points on this road swing. Here's what I want. Here's what I want to see, though. I want to see us show up and compete. That's it. I just want to see us.
If we show up and compete, though, there's no way that we don't get any points. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But then it's a happy day, right? That's all I'm saying. Like I can live if we lose 3-2. I can live with that. If we lose 3-2 to Edmonton and 4-3 to Calgary, listen, I'm okay with that.
I don't care.
I just want us competing.
I get where you're coming
60
from.
60 minutes of hockey. That's it.
I don't care if they get any points, but it has to be because they're trying new things.
Right.
Yeah. They can't throw the same line out, and I think if they
different lineups, different combinations, do some stuff.
But show up.
But I you know what? It's a 4-game trip here. Well, who do they play? They play somebody coming back, Buffalo or New York or something. But
I think it's
on the way by here. I got it right here. Edmonton, Calgary at New Jersey.
Yeah.
So
that's going to be a good comeback too.
So it's a 5-game trip. You already got 2. You can get 8 points on a 5-game trip. I'm happy.
Oh my God, you're doing a dance. You're doing a dance if you get 8 out of 10.
So you beat Edmonton and Calgary. You already got 6. You got to
I'm going to be realistic here and say they get 7.
Yeah, probably get an overtime loss or something.
Yeah, I think somebody ends up pulling it out, and I think it'll
Well,
honestly be New
do they
Jersey.
play next Monday?
Next Monday? They do not. I don't think.
So maybe we'll do look at something like doing a live viewing episode or something on a playoff game would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we can do that for sure. That's
We
not a
could throw the
problem.
game all on in our house and talk about what's going on and
So they
in
play
real time and maybe watch it with our listeners and viewers. That'd be cool.
They play the Devils on Tuesday. They go from Vancouver Saturday to New Jersey.
Well, let's maybe try to plan something like
then
that.
They're back.
Opening
then
night.
the Oilers are in town.
Perfect. We
So,
should
yeah.
do that for opening night of the playoffs. Just we'll book a show and start to promote it. And first Leaf game of the playoffs, we'll watch it with you and give our feedback on what's happening and break down this and that, and we can just kind of talk about the game.
And John
It'll be
can
fun.
yell at
Boys, you've
Yeah,
never
every
watched the
time
game.
Justin
You've never
Hall's-
watched the game with me, boys. I'm gonna have to apologize to people in advance. I'm gonna have to give you weekly warnings.
I just
put the
watch
earmuffs
and-
on every time Hall gets on the ice.
Yeah, well, that happens. All right, well, that's awesome. It was. I'll tell you, it's unprecedented. I think this is the biggest kind of action trading that I've seen since Cliff Fletcher pulled off the big deal in '93.
I agree. I mean, I wasn't even alive.
That
but
wasn't
I
a
agree.
deadline yet. That wasn't a deadline deal. It was in January, but 8-9 players.
I remember
4
the
or
cover
5
for the
go.
Sun that day. Yeah.
But yeah, nuts. And you know what? I think he's done his job, and the boys have to do theirs. But it's real exciting going into this, and yeah,
We have the best chance to win a cup that we've had since '93.
Yep, I
Period.
agree.
Maybe 02. Maybe 02.
I
When
know.
we
This
played
is a better
Carolina.
team.
When we played Carolina, we were a good team. Remember, we were a really good team.
We were a good team. I was 1 year old, so I don't remember it in real time. But it's
Remember Sundin
This-
was hurt, and then Sundin came back, and then we didn't.
yeah,
have the
but
same
you don't trade this roster that you have in front of you
No,
now versus that
No,
roster
No, fair enough. No,
for a chance to win the cup.
talent wise, no.
I would have taken the goalies we had then.
Yeah, I
I'm sure
agree.
you would. Twice on Sunday.
Cujo,
But-
Belfour. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing.
Oh, Johnny, they were good days, weren't they? They were good days.
Hey, the same results as we're getting now, right? Still haven't won. But you know what? You're in a position. It's going to be fun to watch. What I try to say to the fan group is be patient, right? Rome wasn't built in the day, but we're in a real good position. If things, you got to be lucky. One team wins. That's it. Right. But I said to you last week, Boston and Tampa are going to be scared and they're going to do something. They both did. Not nearly as significant of what Toronto keeps doing. They're scared. They know.
And they're paying more. They're overpaying
because they're panicky.
Yeah.
Dubas has had these things in the works for months. I mean, he's been brilliant. He said less than 2 weeks ago, I'm not interested in giving up any first round picks. Right. He's given 2 and got 1 back and got tremendous talent coming in. So
listen, all I'm going to say is if you're a Leaf fan and you've been a Leaf fan for A, as long as I have, B, as long as Johnny's been, or C, as long as people in my family, I'm going to tell you, today is a great day. Let's enjoy the day. Let's enjoy the day. Let's be happy that we've got something positive to talk about, that we've got positivity for once streaming in. Everybody's feeling good about where we're at. And I think as a fan, if you're being negative now, I'm just telling you, if you're being negative, you got some issues. As
And
a fan,
you know what?
you got some issues.
I'm looking at a poll on Twitter with almost 8,000 votes. It's, do you like the Rasmus Sandin trade? And this is the first time I've ever seen over 50% on a positive side when we're moving a fan-liked player out and not getting someone big back. We got a pick back. I mean, Gustafson too, but not really. And 58% of people are saying that they like the trade. So that's some positivity. I mean, this is Leafland.
Yeah.
Normally,
Positivity in Leafland's a rare thing, man. Let's enjoy it while we got it, boys.
You go down 1-0 to Tampa, and people are jumping.
The world will end. Don't worry, I'll be jumping off of a building at that point too. So don't worry about it.
And
Johnny, I'll need you to coach me off. I'll need you to coach me off, Johnny.
Me and Johnny Mac will be sitting here going, it's just one game. It's just one game. Doesn't matter.
Be all right. But yeah, it'll be fun. We'll do a view party. That'll be good.
Sounds good, boys. All right.
Anyways, in saying that, we'll end it there. Once again, go check out our sponsors in our and their links in our bio, as well as go check out oldcitysports.com.
Oh, and I'm on center ice Thursday night.
Right, yeah. Johnny Mac's making an appearance on Center Ice hosted by Jesse Bell. That's the NHL league-wide show. So you'll hear a little bit more about Johnny Mac's personal bio, I guess. We'll go with that. But
and boys, if you ever want to know, and if you ever want to know the feelings of a 13-year-old girl and how she views the Maple Leafs, check us out on Coach's Corner with Kara Grace on YouTube.
Yeah, check it out. And in saying that, we'll cut it off there. Thank you for listening. If you've been here the whole time, we're sorry we nodded off a few times there. But anyways, cheers, guys, and we'll see you next Monday.
Have a good one, boys.
Yep. See you guys.